Hello, friend. I have a story to tell you today. It's the story of my daughter's life. She died of lung cancer at the age of 39, and I have written a book which I think is helpful to us today in the very difficult circumstances in which we live. It brings hope and encouragement and a sense that all is well. I hope you enjoy it. Episode 33. Nick takes my hand and puts it over Shirley's heart. There's the softest puff, an amazing thing, whisper soft, as gentle as a last breath. I remember thinking, is this what death feels like? Just a little puff? And then she's gone, and heaven rejoices. Nick quietly moves away. I kiss her forehead. Thank Jesus. I come back many times. We all do, just to look at her, sometimes to touch and to love. I pull her little blanket straight, pray, hover, and pray some more. I don't know what I feel. I have no idea. Nick comes back to stand beside her. I felt the last breaths, the last flutter of your heart against the palm of my hand. So many times you've held my hand so strongly in yours. Oh God, why do you take her from us? I take a little white ceramic cross she has and hold her hands. How quickly they begin to get cold around it now. A text comes through on my phone. My dearest Thaiki, it's 2:00 on Tuesday morning. I just can't get to sleep because I'm constantly aware of you three. And all I can say is that right now my heart is overwhelmed with love for you all. I don't know, but my Father knows exactly what's happening. Love you with the love of the Lord. Spanky. 2 weeks ago, God showed Laura while driving a picture of Shirley as a bride before her wedding day, preparing to meet her bridegroom. For a while now, the white blossoms on the tree beside the path to Shirley's front door suggest a beautiful Shirley in a wonderful white wedding gown. Every time I see it, I'm so thankful. Now, tonight, Chris and John come quietly past it, while it drops white blossoms like confetti. We all cry and hug and talk with hushed voices. Chris gently whispers to Shirley, I'll never forget how beautiful you are right now. Besides Shirley, once again, Nick sees a most remarkable picture of her in heaven. No mind could conjure up such. It just makes me smile. He writes on, I saw her there, as clear as I see one standing before me on this earth. God had healed her and restored her. He had spent these months bringing her back to him, preparing her and her heart for an eternity with him. His bride was complete. Aware that others need to know, I text. Shirley was taken into his loving arms at 1:35 a.m. this morning. What a love story, where through all the difficulties, S embraced Jesus more and more as altogether lovely. Lots of love. Bye. Tributes flow in. Dear friends, today is Shirley's day. She now rests in her Father's arms. There has not been one person who has come into her presence or heard of her journey over the last 11 months who has not been moved, inspired, or touched by the very core of this remarkable woman. Her natural beauty, even in adversity, increasing depth of faith, and sense of humour to the last, made her the unique and wonderful person we knew. Please know that your support, love and prayer carried Shirley through the valley of the shadow of death. Her gratitude had no bounds, and consequently ours too, Nick. I see her now happy and free in the presence of her Jesus. No more tears, no more suffering, no more pain. We grieve for ourselves, but we rejoice for you, dear friend. Katie. Shirley has been an inspiration in facing her journey with so much courage. Now she's smiling her smile and singing in heaven. Chris. The last time I saw her, she was lit from within despite the pain, and she looked utterly beautiful, glowing with the light of heaven. Rami. What grace you have been given, my darling. Dying grace. Mum. My beautiful friend, you leave a devastating hole as you are irreplaceable. I celebrate the crown of righteousness you now receive from the one you love, your bridegroom and Saviour. You are forever an inspiration, Laura. As the undertakers prepare to take Shirley, one of them, a kind man to whom I warm immediately, squeezes my hand. I want you to know I'll make sure the cross she is holding stays in place in her hands. Thank you, I murmur, so very glad of that. After all, that is where it belongs. Service of celebration, Nick writes to one and all. 11 a.m. Wednesday 14 May at Greyfriars Church. After the committal at Reading Crematorium, there will be light refreshments, selected by Shirley for you, at the Crown in Playhatch. She also asked that, instead of flowers, you support her favourite charities. As near as he can, Nick carries out Shirley's every wish. She used to say Nick loves a project and will be on it in no time. From a full heart, he recruits the band she wanted, organises the flowers and the tea, the ushers and the service leaflet. He arranges with Dan to preach on Hebrews 12:1-2, as Shirley wanted. She finished the course, and now she wants to encourage us to do the same. Tonya is to lead the service, Joe, Laura and Nick to do the tributes, Chris, Katie, Brian and I to lead in prayer. Hi, Nick draws me aside. The girls are asking about dress. This is a celebration, Nick, or Shirley would want it to be. That's what she said, he exclaims and gets busy with the text. Dear friends, with respect to dress code, this is a celebration of her life. More wedding than funeral. Let's make it so. So the girls arrive, dressed for a wedding, Gaynor in fresh apple green, Laura in red and Joe in sky blue. I'm glad 14 May is a sunny day. One thing Shirley didn't like about England was its grey skies, and we need sunshine to celebrate, don't we? When we arrive, the coffin, so like Shirley to choose a light-coloured wood and simple trappings, stands in a pool of light at the foot of the steps. Sitting beside her, I imagine the little white cross, embellished with blue in her hands, and I'm glad. Another special little gladness in an ocean of sadness. The service begins, one last act of love from Shirley for all of those that she loved. The worship is intensely sincere and personal. The songs, those that spoke to her on her journey. When darkness seems to hide his face, I rest on his unchanging grace. Christ alone, cornerstone. Oh no, you never let go, through the calm and through the storm. Lord, you never let go of me. Dan, Shirley's pastor and friend, steps up with his message from Hebrews 12. He encourages us to follow her example and to push on until we too take our places amid a crowd of witnesses, and possibly right next to her in the crowd. Charlie's angels, as they are calling themselves, take turns to share their hearts. Nick, or Charlie, as he's nicknamed, speaks first. Shirley, touched and inspired to the very core, with her natural beauty, increasing depth of faith, sense of humour and gratitude for all others did for her. She was truly genuine, honest and understanding. In this you discovered a depth of strength and bravery that I believe few knew. Joe follows him. This whole year Shirley just shone as God took her on an amazing adventure of faith and trust. She came so much more alive than I had ever known her, more Shirley-like than I had ever known she could be. She lived to the fullest, loved most deeply, involved herself to the fullest, and became more fulfilled in all she did. Then Laura. Shirley was a ray of sunshine. She could light up a room and make you feel better, regardless of what was going on in her life. She was always generous with encouragement, which increased as her suffering increased. Her imperfections, weaknesses, fears, insecurities, and unanswered questions came to be satisfied. So many times this last year she said, "I'm so happy." When she left us, she was full to overflowing of the great hope of what is to come. Gaynor collects tributes from the congregation. Thank you once again for thinking of blessing and loving us, this time in the service you put together, Margie. Thanks, Charles, for being so kind to put together your funeral service with your thoughts fixed on those who'd be there grieving. That's typical of your kindness. Andy. Gorgeous, Shirley. How fitting that you should leave us in such style. The service today was gorgeous. So you to make it all about us and all about God's love for us. We were all touched by how loved we are and excited by our future in heaven with our Saviour, Louisa. Thank you, Shirley, for all you showed us along your journey. We saw you being transformed through all this by Jesus' love in a fashion that gives hope for the future, whatever it holds. Tom. As we drink tea in the hall, Chris wanders over to Katie. That was amazing, like we were all meeting at some celebratory wedding. I know, what an atmosphere, just indescribable. Katie sips her coffee thoughtfully. Unless you were here, you could not really understand. She sniffs a bit. Chris says, I haven't actually got the words to describe it either. Joe joins them. As we were worshipping, I saw a host of angels rejoicing with us here in the church. I've got to paint what I saw. Brian and I walk behind the coffin of our only child, a moment of indescribable horror. We battle again with unreality, a battle we are to fight again and again in the time to come. How can our darling Shirley be lying there? How can we be attending her funeral? It cannot possibly be true, can it? The journey to the crematorium is a blur. I keep looking at the message carved into the wood above the curtains. Resurgam, I shall rise again. I know you will, my darling, I whisper, and I'm so comforted. The committal over, we get up to go. The organist is playing Stuart Townend's version of Psalm 23. And I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. We let go hands and move away, but faith, rejoicing, peace and hope gather round and encircle us. Back at Sandy Lane, tired and battered, I pen my last round robin. Her choice of songs, the testimonies and prayers, text and message by Dan, everything was profound. A sense of victory and quiet joy prevailed. The previous pastor and the undertaker each said the same thing, though in different words. I have never experienced such a service before. It was beyond wonderful. So I find myself saying, well done, Shirley girl. Once again, with your usual style, you pulled it off with excellence. And what is so wonderful is that you did it all for love. Your love for God and your love for us all. I've been reading from my book, Mum, Please Help Me Die, the story of my daughter Shirley's battle with cancer. If you'd like to get a copy of the book, please contact me. You can do that at the following email address, thai@mumpleasehelpmedie.co.za. I hope you'll be with me again next week. Goodbye.